Hello and welcome to Voices of BlueScope, where we meet the people who work behind the scenes at BlueScope to create strength every day. I'm your host, Martin Feld. Thank you for joining us. For today's episode, we're exploring NS BlueScope in Southeast Asia and its approach to our broader community investment framework, which it has used to develop a variety of corporate social responsibility programs. To introduce NS BlueScope and give some background to this work, I'm joined first by Shaun Yeo, General Counsel ASEAN at NS BlueScope in Singapore. Thank you very much for joining us for Voices of BlueScope, Shaun. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Martin. How are you?
Very well. Can you give us some context for where NS BlueScope sits within the broader BlueScope and what goes on there?
Sure. NS BlueScope is a 50-50 joint venture between BlueScope Steel Limited and NSC, Nippon Steel Corporation, and it comprises the building products businesses in Southeast Asia and North America. And by that, I mean we operate metallic coating and painting lines in each of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, and North America, and also downstream roll forming facilities in those countries and Singapore and Brunei. So it's really focused on Southeast Asia and parts of North America.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your role with NS BlueScope? Where do you sit in the organization?
My appointment is General Counsel for NS BlueScope's Southeast Asian businesses, and I'm based in Singapore. I've been with BlueScope for just under 6 years now and very much enjoying a lot of it.
As General Counsel, you've had something to do with the corporate community investment framework that has been happening at NS BlueScope. For people who aren't familiar with it, both within and beyond the organisation, can you tell about what this framework means and how it's informed different community initiatives that are taking place?
I think, at the outset, it's important to note that across the global footprint, BlueScope businesses and people have been and continue to be proud to volunteer and engage in activities to support their local communities. Recently, though, the global CSR team in BlueScope has formulated a community investment framework, which has been in place for about a year or so after being endorsed by its executive leadership team. And what this does is to allow us to clearly redefine what we want to be known for in our communities and to deliver greater benefit to both BlueScope and our community partners. We're focusing on affordable housing, STEAM, in other words, using our expertise in designing, manufacturing, and engineering, building and construction to help the communities. Education, community buildings, so constructing and improving community centers and meeting places. Diversity and inclusion is one that we care a lot about. Last but not least, health and safety. So with this global framework, while it's global, it's locally owned. And the key thing that BlueScope is focusing on here is employee engagement. In the past, we may have done some initiatives which had employee engagement, but we would also have, I think, a significant proportion of our work where we, for example, donated funds or donated products. But we wanted here, I think, to ensure that we get that employee engagement piece right. Well, the benefits with having employees engage in the activity are underestimated. It actually makes the employee feel better about the company. The employee feels better about his or her peers, and the employee feels better about himself or herself. So we think that that's important. Now, in NS BlueScope, Martin, because we operate in such a diverse geography, we've appointed a champion in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and North America. So it's really about making sure the different country businesses are empowered and aligned on the overall objectives. And we've done some really great work in that regard.
I'm glad that you covered a lot of great points there. It is really important to have employees across the business engaging in all of this because, yes, people are busy with their own work and there's a lot of work to be done throughout BlueScope, but our communities are our homes. It's part of our bond, and it's very important that people feel involved in that way. And I can imagine that you're engaged even though maybe it isn't the center of your own work. And is it challenging to juggle that sometimes?
It can be. It certainly isn't within our typical scope of work, at least within legal. But if we think about it, if we are really trying to work towards a common purpose, getting involved the local communities in which we operate in does make me feel like it's work that's worthwhile. Not that the other work isn't, but this just adds an additional layer of meaning to what I do for BlueScope. What we've also decided to try and focus on is finding community partners. And what that does when you have a community partnership. I'll give you one example. We in NS BlueScope and in other parts of BlueScope, we've been working with Habitat for Humanity. And what they do is to identify opportunities for us. They take care of the administration, they take care of the logistics. We have to pay to participate, but what that then frees us up to do is to really immerse ourselves in the initiative and engage with it and do it. So you'll hear from my colleagues later on about the various initiatives. I don't want to steal the thunder, but what you get a sense of is how personally involved they became and how meaningful that interaction is.
Yes, and we're going to be hearing from two of these particular champions you've mentioned later in the episode. Can you give us a little bit of information about them? Who are we going to be hearing about?
You're going to be hearing from Hung. He's Vice President Marketing in Vietnam, and he will tell you about this incredible initiative that they've just completed in relation to the 300 roofs they contributed. It sounds pretty simple enough, given that that's probably what BlueScope is good at. But the level of engagement and the breadth of engagement he got across various stakeholders is really incredible. You'll also hear from Nikki, who's our external affairs manager in Indonesia. And this, obviously, in the current times, we're restricted or limited by COVID. But the plan there is also, I think, really meaningful. Where our current facilities are located in Indonesia, our main manufacturing facility is in Cilegon. It's in provincial Indonesia. It's an area where there are people who are unfortunately less privileged. And Nikki will share much more information with you, but we're trying to build and improve sanitary facilities within that province.
That's a wonderful summary, and we look forward to hearing from them later in the episode. Now, before we finish up, I do want to ask more about you. You mentioned that you work within legal, that you've been with NS BlueScope for 6 years. What can you tell people about the experience of working here?
That's an easy one. In a previous life, I was very good at very little. I became an expert in a narrow space that was just commonplace. In BlueScope, quite quickly after I joined, it became apparent to me that people will let you do what you want to do once you demonstrate that you are serious and that you have the potential to, I guess, broaden your horizons. And even within legal, that is the case. So it's not a particular area of law that you focus on. In BlueScope Legal, we tend to be a jack of all trades, and ultimately, hopefully, you become a master of all trades. Beyond legal, that's a whole different thing. And again, that's where I think BlueScope has been incredible for me, and that's allowing you to move beyond your technical area and to experience and develop and ultimately lead in other areas as well.
Jack of all trades and a master of all trades. That's a great way to put it. Thank you so much for your time, Shaun. It's been great to hear from you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Martin.
Next, I spoke with the Vice President of Marketing at NS BlueScope in Vietnam, Hung Dang, about community programs there, including the 300 Roofs project. Let's cross to that interview now. Thank you so much for joining me today, Hung. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm fine. Thanks.
It's great to have you on Voices of BlueScope today. We're talking to different champions of community initiatives at NS BlueScope. We've heard from Shaun, who has given a bit of an introduction about different parts of the company. What I'd love to know from you is, where do you work within NS BlueScope? Where are you based, and what do you do with the company?
So as you know, we have established the first office in Vietnam since 1994. In Vietnam market, we serve both B2B market with the brand like Collarbone and Jinkalum, and B2C market residential with Blue Cup Jack brand. That's the regional brand for Southeast Asia. In Vietnam, we have 4 offices and 2 factories located in 6 key cities, including Hanoi, Da Nang, Ho Chi Minh, Cần Thơ, and Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu. I hope that you know the city as well. Our main office here is in Ho Chi Minh City, where my whole marketing team located. From this office, we have managed to run all BlueScope activity in Vietnam.
And how long have you been working with BlueScope?
I have joined BlueScope for 3 years now. In BlueScope Vietnam, my team and I is the one to lead, the marketing calendar, and also we is the one to lead the CSR and sustainability calendar.
On top of your work in marketing at BlueScope in Vietnam, you're also doing some very important community work. Can you please explain what the 300 Roofs project is at NS BlueScope Vietnam and how you are involved in it?
In Vietnam, we manage for the poor people in residential B2C market. Our principle here is like to create connection for better value. The uniqueness of this activity is to connect and motivate our key stakeholders to join and be part of the program. Instead of encouraging people for donating steel roof only, we invite ultra dealer and local builder to join us and manage this project together. So that's the unique thing of this CS activity. Everybody has their clear role on this project. Our BlueScope Vietnam donate 300 steel roof. Our dealers connect with local authority officer at 8 different provinces to find 300 relevant poor cases. They help us verify each qualified case, then plan and call their local builder network. Every authority dealer here, they have their own local builder network. And they ask their local builder network to join, help install the steel roof together with ourselves. At the end of this program, there are 80 local builders and 10 top authority dealers across the country have joined the program.
So how long has this taken to plan and execute this project?
It takes us like 2 months to plan this activity and 3 months to execute it. We need to come up with a concept. We need to define the way to donate the steel roof. We need to invite and spend time with our authority dealer and local builder to execute the program.
How difficult is it to manage and plan such a large community project? Because 300 roofs, that is a lot.
Yeah, Vietnam is a long country, so we need to work, across the country with more than 10 top 10 authority dealer. But the good thing is we stay really close with them. We have a good network, and also from authority dealer and local builder, they all understand what we want to do. They really want to join and help us to deliver the end result at the end.
Once all of these roofs are installed or they're being rolled out, do you have the chance personally to visit any of these places or see the results of this kind of installation?
Yeah, I and my team, we all come, to at least half of the areas at the first time, and after that, when we deliver the steel roof to the poor people house. After the installation, we all come and see how, the poor people, they enjoy the new roof and new house there.
I imagine that's very rewarding to see, but maybe also difficult to see some of the conditions that people are living in. How does it feel to visit these communities and see the effects of the program?
So when we come, we see the difference between before and after we install the steel roof. And the good thing here is, like I mentioned, we feel that our local people, not just only BlueScope South team, but also our authority dealer, our local builder, they all feel that they contribute in this project, and we feel happy together. That's the best thing of this project, I think.
What do you think is one of the biggest lessons or key ideas that you have taken away having been involved in this project?
The best thing I learned from here is when we cooperate with each other to help and support each other to deliver this value thing together. The different thing in BlueScope versus other environment that I've been to before is more on the industry that I serve. So for BlueScope, I have served both B2B and B2C market. So I can learn a lot from that, especially for the B2B, the new experience that I have never experienced before. Besides the marketing activity, the marketing stuff that I manage, the excited thing I have in here is a comprehensive CSR and sustainability calendar that I myself is the one to manage and lead at the end. Because at the end, we try to do everything to build up and strengthen a better community in Vietnam. So that's a wonderful experience that I have in here. We don't only have the 300 Steel Roof program, we also have the CSR game show on TV channel to combine between game show and CSR. We try to do as much as we can, for poor people. We have house building activity by BlueScope employee. So BlueScope employee, we ourselves try to build 2 or 3 houses every year for the poor people here. Besides the charity, we also care about environment protection, both internal and external activity. And also, we have established already a CEO forum here. So we believe that not just only charity, we need to motivate the CEO group, the big influence group, in Vietnam, to try and motivate them to join with us on the roadmap of sustainability. That's what we think.
So what you're saying, and I think I really agree with you, is that it's important to have people at all different levels of the organization involved in these kinds of projects. And can you tell me some more? I'm very interested. You mentioned something about a game show there. What was that about?
It's just TV game show. So we do for BlueScope Jack brand, So versus are the steel brand in Vietnam. They just focus more on the game show, more on the entertainment part. In here, even when we do the game show, we try to combine between game show and CSR activity. For example, like our concept game show for this year gonna be to have improve people life. So based on the game show on TV, right, reality show, we select every episode we're gonna have and support one poor person in each province, something like that. That's the external program. Is a TV station across the country for this program. So we broadcast this both online and on TV channel.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Hung. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you, Martin.
Last but not least, I spoke with Maharany Putri, or Nikki, who is the Government Relations Manager at NS BlueScope in Indonesia. In the following discussion, she outlines the Sustainable Community Program for housing, sanitation and schools in the Cilegon area, along with challenges posed by COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us for Voices of BlueScope. Nikki, how are you today?
Well, I'm fine. It's pretty clear today. Thank you.
You're speaking from the business in Indonesia. Could you tell us a bit about yourself and where you fit within the company?
Well, yep. My name is actually Maharany Putri. So my nickname is Nikki. Everybody knows me as Nikki. And I've joined BlueScope earlier, like 5 years ago. So it's a pretty long time ago, I think. And my role will be the government relations. And I fit into the corporate and external affairs in Indonesia. And my part, it's more on the interaction of with the government, and also I'm responsible in the piece of corporate social responsibility, which is CSR. So that's why when NS BlueScope Indonesia is actually try to find a champion to actually steer the approach that comes from global BlueScope, so they actually choose me, as the champion for implement this approach.
Can you tell us more about what the new approach is? What is involved in this program that NS BlueScope Indonesia is doing?
It's about last year that we've been socialized for this new framework of the approach, which is this is the corporate community investment approach to deliver greater benefit to both BlueScope and our community partners. At that time, we think on how we can collaborate effectively of having a unified partner to get really access to our community on each country. So that's why where that's Habitat for Humanity came into picture.
Can you tell us some more about the specific area in which you're operating and some of the maybe tangible stories or examples of people or communities that you've helped?
They have been actively building healthy houses in Indonesia for less fortunate communities in collaboration with private sectors and government of Indonesia. That's one take. And the other take that needs to be taken on is actually in the survey and analysis, assessment with the Cilegon city government body. This is where NS BlueScope Indonesia is operating for more than 20 years. With the needs that we find out, it's more on housing improvement in terms of decent sanitation and hygiene infrastructure for a healthy environment that they need around Cilegon city area. Then we plan over a sustainable community program nearby our plant, which should be implemented in a routine manner, and it involves BlueScope employees and surrounding communities. And we need to make sure that we also having the program which is aligned to local government CSR program. That's most important too. And ultimately, it's contribute a significant impact to ASEAN for long term, together with Habitat. And the program is actually made for 3 years in 3 stages. Its focuses, again, Stage one is building healthy houses with individual toilets. And the second stage is a garbage bank. And the third one is the healthy schools. So we were made that in accordance with the three elements, as I mentioned before, is affordable housing, education, as well as healthy and safety.
Can you tell me about some of the effects that you've had to deal with because of the COVID-19 pandemic? No industry is immune to this. So how have you had to work around this public health situation to continue your work?
Well, it's actually back then in last year that we planned over this community set program. We already made the survey and assessment with CSR body in Cilegon and also Habitat. I think it's back in November last year, but we tried to have a groundbreaking for building a house in March. But unfortunately, at that time, everything is locked down in Indonesia, and including Cilegon area. It is impossible for us to implement this. So until the tentative time for implementing this, it's gonna be start again in January. But during this challenging pandemic, we also having the activities together with the government of Indonesia. So we actually provide sets of PPE to some hospital, and also the PPE through the government of local Cilegon area.
So you've been able to continue your work in different ways and prepare for down the track. That's really good. Can you tell me some of the things that you've learned or the experiences that you've had in being part of this working group and being this community initiative champion, as you described?
Well, what I've taken away from this, to be honest, is enriching me because I came from different background though. This is really on the government side. So at that time, when I've been challenged to having this CSR initiative, so I was thinking about having a really blended program, which is aligned with government of Indonesia about having vocational and, TVET, right? For that technical, vocational and education in Indonesia. But at that time, it came over this program, this is provide a good blend within our expertise as well, which is that we are good in training the applicators, which is that's actually lives around our surrounding, right? That's one thing. And the other part is more on giving the benefit for having building up houses. There's a soft skill part and the hard skill part I mentioned. What I take away from this is actually this is a good plan that comes from global. If you're going to stick around with me later on, maybe after January, hopefully all the COVID gets slow in the spreading on the virus, and then we can implement this in January sometime. The cultural value that's exists in BlueScope makes us comfort, right? It feels like home. All the employees and the workforce, other workforce in different division here in Indonesia or elsewhere in Australia, even in Port Kembla and Western Port, they're really good. Yeah. They accept you as you are, right? So, and they try, they do understand your strengths. They want to receive your strengths and receive your weakness. And then we collaborate each other. So that's what I like the most of being working with BlueScope.
That's great. So thank you very much for joining us on the episode today. It's been good to chat with you.
Okay. Thank you, Martin.
That wraps up today's episode. Make sure to visit the show notes in your podcast player to view further links and information. For other news and updates, visit bluescope.com, follow BlueScope on LinkedIn, or check out @BlueScope on Twitter. You'll also find a range of video playlists on YouTube under TV BlueScope. Thank you for joining us again for Voices of BlueScope. Until next time.